republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we're going to kick off with the proposed 2024-25 budget presentation offered by Dr. Crankshaw.
Everybody. This is live streamed as well, and so the whole budget presentation you're going to hear tonight, see tonight, will be on our website as well, so you can see that. And so I'm going to take you through. I need to give you a little background for anyone who is new here tonight and the first time hearing the budget presentation. We've been working on this since October, and we had this pretty much developed this budget due to all the sort of external forces that we had to have this developed by, I would say, February. And so you will see very little difference from February's presentation at the board meetings until now. And we know a little bit more than we did, but I want to share with you everything from the beginning. So I apologize to the board if you've seen a lot of this, but for the sake of the live streaming and for anyone new in the audience, I'm going to take you through this. So our proposed budget, we have to remember that the budget is not just a set of numbers. It is an expression of the school district's values and our aspirations to become a school that attends to our vision. And this particular budget proposal values very specific things. In other words, we set out to ensure that we could furnish certain aspects of a comprehensive school program to our students. And one is a comprehensive array of extracurricular and curricular actions or cuts in that program. That attends to our goals number 1 and 2 that we've set. I feel that this is a fiscally responsible approach to funding our community schools in a changeable and volatile environment. Things change all around us, and we have to adapt. And I think this budget is a good reflection to show how those expectations, societal evolution, governmental, external forces, all help us make our decisions that we do. Not to mention rising costs of everything. You'll see a little later in the program portion of the slides that salary and benefits alone accounts for the majority of the increase in this particular budget. Our staff professional learning opportunities and mandated trainings are covered in this budget. A comprehensive, organized, cohesive, systematic, community-wide safety plan that includes everything from our security cameras, our door access, our trainings, so many more things. Resources to implement a guaranteed vital curriculum. To me, as superintendent, there's nothing more important than setting down a curriculum that you can guarantee your students are going to have access to and making that viable and be sure that they attain it. Staffing programs and facilities to benefit the increasing social, emotional, and academic learning needs of all students. And finally, adequate staffing appropriate for the needs of the district at this time. This particular budget, I think, reflects the district's commitment to social and emotional well-being of our students and staff. It does not go overboard in any way, shape, or form to furnish extra staff for anything, for any purpose. I think every staff represented in this budget is absolutely necessary at this point in time. So a reminder of our mission, that we are here to provide an education for our students in this community. And we have to do so in a very high level way so that they have what they need to contribute to a stronger society. And our vision, of course, nobody wants to be last, nobody wants to be second. Johnstown wants to be the natural choice for people who move to this area for their children to attend. We have 6 goals, and they relate to student achievement, social and emotional learning, highly prized personnel, resource provision, physical health of the district, and finally community relations. The year increases by 3%. 3% in spending, and 3 of the components that you see up on the total increase from year to year is $1,266,669. And let's go into each of these components a little bit more. But before we do that, let's take a look at the revenues. We know what we need to spend, but let's see where the money's coming from. State aid, obviously, a slight change, up about $300,000. Federal aid is a little bit negative there. Tax levy, unfortunately, 1/3 of our budget is funded by our local taxpayers, and there's a 4.26% tax levy increase there. That is within the maximum allowable tax levy limit. The appropriated fund balance, that's in red, $760,973, because we don't love that number to go up from year to year, meaning we don't necessarily want to make a habit of filling the gap between expenditures and revenue with what we've saved in the fund balance. In this case, we have another very healthy fund balance. So for this year, we decided that that was going to work okay. And I'll explain a little bit more about this in a second, but appropriate fund balance, if you look back at 22-23 to 23-24, we did make an attempt to spend less or appropriate less in our fund balance. But we're looking projected into next year, we have an increase of that amount. And we have to keep a careful eye on that. So we look at the plan to reserves, there's no increase there, but we do plan to use resources from 2 specific reserves. And as I said, at the very bottom of the total, we're looking at a 3% spending increase, and whatever change we needed in revenues had to match that. So let's look a little closer at state aid. State aid is made up of a couple of different parts. Expense-driven aids, that is a very strategic spending plan. The year prior, usually, a lot of we did pretty well year to year in those expense-driven aids. You see foundation aid is what we call flat, or 0% increase. That hurts. Excess costs, also flat. Instructional resources, basically flat as well. The total state aid package is really due to our expense-driven aids, and that is strategic spending, typically with BOCES. I'm just going to simplify it. So could also be transportation, and it is transportation. This slide goes a little bit more detail, which I think most people in the audience here have seen the description of what are the components of state aid. And I do want to take a moment just to explain the tax levy, because I got stopped by a neighbor, 2 neighbors actually. And they opened their windows and one was a math teacher for her whole career, and one was a business teacher for his whole career. They live in probably one of the nicest homes in Johnstown, pay extraordinary taxes. And they said, I thought it was 2% increase and you couldn't go more than that. I said, well, it's different for every school district, but 2% happens to be one of the 8 factors. In a formula, it's the CPI, Consumer Price Index. So the math teacher said to me, you'd think I'd know this. How have I gone my whole life? I'm now 87 years old and I never knew this. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to put a slide in a presentation that kind of explains the tax levy and how that 2% is not 2% necessarily for every school. So there's a tax cut formula in that first bullet. We know it's an 8-step formula with factors given to us by New York State. There's a tax levy limit. It's the highest allowable amount that we're allowed to increase our tax levy by. The maximum allowable tax levy includes certain exclusions at the very end of the formula. The exclusions are typically total net debt from voter-approved capital projects, transportation added to the tax levy, and there we come up with our proposed tax levy, which in this case, going into 24-25, is 4.26. So here's the formula. On the left, you have the tax levy from the prior year times the tax-based growth factor plus the pilots from the prior year minus capital exclusions from the prior year times the consumer price index, there's your 2%. That is consistent in everyone's formula, but everything around it is different. Then you have pilots to consider in the coming year, which you subtract, that equals your tax levy limit. And then on top of that, you have certain exclusions which you can add, and that equals your maximum allowable tax levy limit. Very simple. Do you want to see a video? It's up to the board. Movies are great. It's a little movie. It's a little annoying, but maybe for the sake of the live stream. Okay. See if I can make it work.
New York State's property tax levy cap. What is it and how does it affect our public schools? Or, to put it another way, where is a 2% tax cap not a 2% cap on tax increases? In New York State, that's where. Why? Because despite being touted by some politicians and the media as a 2% tax cap, the law does not prevent your school tax bill from increasing by more than 2% each year. So what does it do? It requires each public school district to calculate a tax levy limit each year using a complicated 8-step formula dictated by the state. How complicated, you ask? Well, you start with the prior year total tax levy. Wait, what's the tax levy? It's the total amount of property taxes a school district collects from property owners to balance its budget, after accounting for state aid and any other revenue sources. Back to the formula. Start with prior year tax levy, multiply that by the tax base growth factor.
And title payments received in the prior year subtract any tax levy that pays the court judges, but not if they are tax certiorari. Also subtract capital cost paid total tax dollars not state aid and multiply all of that by 2%, or the change in the consumer price index that is lower, and subtract title payments expected in the coming year. And the available carryover, which is anything left over from last year's tax levy limit, less than 1.5% of the limit.
And you have this year's tax levy limit. You get it? Yeah, me neither. But did you catch the 2%? Let's go back. One of the 8 steps involves adjusting some costs for inflation using the change in consumer price index, or 2%, whichever is less. And then you continue with the formula. That's where the 2% comes in. Now you have the whole story. Last spring, only 5 of the state's nearly 700 school districts had a tax levy limit equal to 2%. 575 had a limit greater than 2%, and 92 had a limit less than 2%. One district's limit was a 31% increase, and another faced a 34% decrease. So the tax levy limit isn't 2%. It's whatever the state formula says it is, and it will be different for every school district. But whatever the limit is, taxes will be capped at that amount, right? Wrong, because the limit isn't a limit. It's just a threshold that determines what level of voter support a district needs to pass its budget proposal. If a district decides to propose a budget with a tax levy that is more than its tax levy limit, that district will need a supermajority, or at least 60% of voters, to approve its budget. If the proposed tax levy is at or below its limit, the budget passes with just a simple majority. By the way, there are certain costs called exclusions that the state says aren't subject to the tax levy limit, but districts still need to pay those. They're part of the levy, just not part of the limit. And don't forget, all of this applies to a district's total tax levy, not the tax rate, not your tax bill. Tax bills are also affected by other things that have nothing to do with the school district, like state equalization rate and local property assessments. Even if the district were increasing its levy by exactly 2%, what you'd see on your school tax bill could be entirely different. So, in review, it is not a 2% tax cap. In fact, it's not really a cap at all, it's a voter threshold. And the law was never designed to cap your tax bill, it applies to the levy only. What does this mean for your school budget? At the end of the day, the tax levy limit is just a number. School leaders still have to do what they've always done, weigh the cost of providing a quality school program with the community's ability to pay for it. To find out more, visit your school district website, attend public meetings, and learn more at educationspeaks.org.
Good, thank you. Is that informative? So we'll continue with the rest of the budget presentation. Again, I would say nearly all of this, if not 99% of it, is what we have seen for the past 2 months in these presentations at board meetings. So just as a review, the budget components have 3 parts: administrative, capital, program. The program gets the largest share of attention in this budget. The administrative component, the smallest component, is the Board of Education, the central admin, that's me, my salary, my staff in the central office, finance, that's Alicia Coster, our assistant superintendent, her staff as well. Legal personnel, we have contracts with attorneys that we use all the time. Administrative supervision and improvement, central services and special items, that's BOCES. Here's the breakdown under administrative. We're looking at a 2.70% increase. No one likes to see administrative component of budget increase too much, and so we try to keep that very modest in terms of increases, salary and benefits for the largest part of that increase. Now, when you see decreases in employee benefits, you're going to see that in different components of the budget. That is because we see increases too. That's because we spread those benefits out this year while moving into next year across the components. Again, Board of Education, central admin, finance, legal personnel, administrative supervision improvements, central services, special items. Moving on to capital, the middle range expense in our budget accounts for almost 20% of our budget. That's the operation of the plant, facilities, printing, data processing, all the work that we do to collect taxes, BOCES administrative costs, which the board just voted on, and employee benefits in that. Here's a little breakdown, and at the end, you're looking at a 4.53% increase in that component alone, $372,452. I'm telling you, this is salary and benefits increases. There are no fancy additions here, per se. If you look at central data processing, there are some decreases, and that's due to difference in spending, distribution across different components of the budget. But you see operation of the plant, maintenance plant, that refers directly to employees, our custodians, and the maintenance folks. BOCES administrative costs is an increase there, and these slides again, not to bore anyone, but these go into a little deeper what that component entails. Now, part of the capital component of the budget is the capital outlay project, which we include in the capital component. This is actually the 3rd year the district has included a capital outlay. It's kind of a smart move, even though it's hard to spend $100,000 on meaningful item. I think it does help because what we spend in this budget, we get a return on to the tune of about 90% the following year. And this is for repairs and maintenance and that sort of thing. So the capital outlay project, what we're proposing for the 24-25 budget, is the entire project at Knox Middle School. The capital outlay project, you have to go at one school, not across a couple schools. So we chose Knox Middle School for improvements and repairs to the foundation, the basement window well renovations and classrooms, and grout injection to prevent water infiltration because we're seeing more and more water infiltration from the ground up at Knox. And this is meant to exclude that kind of infiltration. A little bit more information about capital outlay projects, what they are. Again, it's a $100,000 project within the budget, so when the budget is approved, so is that $100,000 project. Expenses are tracked in our capital fund, and that project is reported to the state like any other capital project, and the return comes the following year. The other caveat is that we have to have all that work done in the capital outlay project before June, or by June 30th of the year. Finally, the program component budget, about 72.5% of this entire budget. This includes instruction, transportation, interfund transfer, benefits, and you can see a 2.62% increase year to year in this component of the budget alone. And a little bit deeper dive into instructional staff. spending, regular school, classroom teaching. You'll see the sharp increase in student with disabilities. That is because we have sharp increases in students with disabilities. And that is a huge cost. Media and educational technology does not get cheaper, it only gets more expensive. And student services and activities primarily through BOCES. So these are BOCES services. So we're looking at salary alone as part of the program component. This is almost 70% of the program component, percent of salary. And that we're looking at over $1.5 million increase year. So I try to outline these following slides, and I'd really like everyone to pay attention. Some of this information is new, but it also might help you to explain what this budget offers in terms of the good things the school district is doing. And I'm going to start with sustaining universal pre-K. We have 3 full-day classrooms. That is something we hadn't had. We finally have it. We're going into our second year of 3 full-day pre-K programs. That is sustained in this budget. Comprehensive instructional plan, which is a comprehensive plan of absolutely everything we do in the district, what we guarantee, what we need support. And I would welcome anyone to take a close look at that plan. It's composed of 3 basic parts. One is the general guaranteed Bible curriculum we provide. Secondly is the MTSS plan with a multi-tiered system of supports plan, including AIS. And finally, the special education plan. Those 3 components together of the SIP, I call it, they really dictate everything we do to start out. There are several plans and handbooks that go along with it, so nothing is left to question. Finally, long-range financial plan is a big part of what we do. Your Board of Education here has the Audit Budget Finance Committee, which meets monthly, and we review all of those responsibilities. The board takes that fiduciary responsibility pretty carefully. I want to move on to the next slide. I talked about MTSS, the multi-tiered system of supports. Well, it's getting a big overhaul into next year. And so we're reevaluating the models we use for AIS. We're reevaluating the models we use for behavioral interventions. And so that is all included and funded in this budget. Take a careful look at the small 3 bullets below. It does include a comprehensive academic intervention service model. It is different than it was this year. But it also includes a comprehensive positive behavioral intervention support called PBIS. You'll hear a lot of times we refer to the SEAL team as carrying that off. Those are the behavioral intervention supports that we offer to our students. And just a little outline here. K1 at Pleasant Avenue building, we have professional behavioral interventions. We're changing them out next year. We have 2 new folks coming. They're not new roles, just new folks. And it's interesting how different people change the dynamics of the building. So that has been strategic. We're looking forward to that. AIS is what we provide with classroom teachers with primary interventions and TA AIS support. At Warren Street, grades 2 through 4, AIS is definitely designated specifically to AIS teachers with some TA support. And finally, 5% at Knox. AIS is, again, assigned specifically designated to AIS teachers with TA AIS support. We're modeling something a little differently next year in technology and library. So GJSD, we're developing our curriculum differently to include more engineering and computer science interesting model at Knox. We're kind of moving the traditional family consumer science teacher out into the high school. And back at Knox, we'll be sort of rewriting, I guess, our curriculum to make sure that the family consumer science curriculum is also a health curriculum, which is specifically covering physical health, nutrition, and social emotional health, with an emphasis on that. Literacy, science of reading. We're now, I think we're finishing our 4th year. I believe it's 4th year, could be 3rd, but I think it's 4th, of the science of reading. I think Johnstown was an initiator of the science of reading that time ago, and now everybody's required to do it. And so I hope we have a leg up on it. But that continues. Social, emotional, academic learning. You've heard about the SEAL team, you've heard about the efforts. The board has to commend on staffing that appropriately, and I think we need more staff, but I think we at least have a really good start on that as well. And finally, our ever-improving graduation rate. We're now at a graduation rate of 94%. It's the highest graduation rate in 25 years, 2nd year in a row. And that's really impressive, and hats off to everyone who helps make that happen, because everybody does. I think this is the final slide of some of the good things that we're going to continue. We look back now at the implementation of that middle school model at Knox. That was no small feat. So we opened the building, 5 through 7 middle school model, created, it went very well. You have a team there that's just kind of second to none, and they have really done a great job. And so the district continues to reflect in next year, as we are bringing in a new principal. You're also going to see us taking a close look at the middle school model and what research and practice says the middle school should be. And so we'll be fine tuning that. Facilities are a challenge there. But curriculum and extracurricular programs, as I said, there are no cuts. We only look to make that specifically relevant to our kids. So Mr. Kramer, moving into that new role, the Director of Student Engagement, will oversee a lot of this and make sure that what we're offering makes a difference. It's rigorous, relevant, and people involved in those activities are making those relationships that are all important. Transportation is a huge shift for us next year too. Going to private transportation, saving about $1 million by just going to private transportation. Of course, that's all payable. Same as groceries is payable as well. I think the board did a great job hiring the transportation supervisor. And when I say you did a great job, I mean you did a great job supporting that, because I think that model is working, even as it saves money. I think next year you can see improved services as well. And just a little bit about the resolutions that folks will see on the ballot. We're looking to establish a 2024 capital reserve fund for a new large capital project that will probably break in 27-28. And that's a $10 million capital reserve fund, which will be funded through the transfer of funds from workers' compensation and retirement contribution reserves. This will mean renovations, improvements, and reconstruction to our district buildings and facilities based on building condition survey, which is required of us. It supports long-range capital and financial plans to maintain our facilities. It also allows for this new large capital project, which we're thinking is a $40 to $45 million project in the district. All paid for with this initial reserve. No additional tax levy increase when the time comes. Just planning that's and also folks will see a resolution to spend a reserve that has already been established to the tune of $5 million on a new small capital project. We're calling it. It is fully, well, I would say it's almost fully planned. Fully funded at the end of the year 2023. So the maximum funding is already in that reserve. This is for renovation, improvements, and reconstruction of district buildings and facilities, specifically bathrooms, kitchens, and HVAC at Knox. Big expensive improvements. Transfer balance of 2015 bus purchase reserve fund was made, and that was put in the capital finally, we are planning this new small project for voter authorization in this May. And we're pretty excited about that project because I think it's got really great things in it. Please take a look at the newsletter to be more informed, and we'll probably have some hearings about that as the time comes to break down that as well. In summary, we have a proposed total budget of $43,488,975. There's the aid portion, proposed tax levy, we'll see 2/3 come from aid, 1/3 from the tax levy, and the use of reserves is a bit of a concern to me, but I think that's why we do strategic planning, and fortunately we have the reserves to do it, thanks to the ARP funds, but that is not going to be there forever, so we've got to think very carefully about that. Now, if our actions consist to support our state goals, then we move closer to being that school that people want to go to. And we do have a contingency budget plan as well. I did cover this with the Board of Education. Just remember the gist of this, that you cannot put any more tax rate on the year. And there are certain things that we have to do and rules that we need to adhere to. And we have a contingency budget in place. I think my biggest concern is without an increase in tax levy, we're looking at almost $501,000. It's about 5% of the tax levy, plus. And we will need to think about how we're going to come up with that gap if somehow the budget does not get voted for. And so the thing I could not recommend is spending more fund balance, even though we may have it. It will probably mean some cuts, and I just don't know where those cuts are going to come from. So I hope the voters appreciate how much effort has gone into this budget money, and I hope for a good result. We do have the board election involved in this year. We have 3 seats up for re-election. I'm happy to say we have 3 folks who are interested in running, so that seems encouraging, and that's all I have for tonight. Any questions? Questions from anyone? Seats. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Crankshaw. So next up, we have the public budget hearing. Marina, remind me, is there? Well, that was a presentation, so, okay, so that terminates that. Okay, so moving on the presentations, we have a presentation of Odyssey of the Mind.
We're going to get them, and he's going to move the screen, I think.
Get the room set up. And we're going to skip over the executive session for the moment, and we're going to go to some action items. We have some abolishments, leaves of absence, resignations, miscellaneous creations, adjustments, and appointments. So, based on the agenda, I'm looking for a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the abolishments, leaves of absence, resignations, miscellaneous creations, adjustments, and appointments as seen in the table as well. So, for resignations, we have Teresa Davis, teaching assistant, and Andrea Leduc, marching band assistant number 2. For leaves of absence, we have Tracy Ringer, dean of students, and under miscellaneous creations, adjustments, and appointments, we have Christopher Caputo as the Boys of the Cross unpaid assistant, and Travis Munson as the marching band assistant number 2. So, well, second? Joel? Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Next, we have the probationary appointment of Peyton Birdie, school psychologist. I would request a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the probationary appointment of Peyton Birdie as school psychologist in the school psychologist tenure area effective July 1st, 2024 for a 4-year term tentatively scheduled to conclude on June 30th, 2028, subject to compliance with education law 3012-D. Salary will be at step E1 plus 400 hours of the salary schedule pursuant to the contractual agreement between the department. This appointment is specifically contingent upon the receipt of certification prior to January 31st, 2025. Should she not receive certification by January 31st, 2025, Ms. Verdi's appointment shall be converted to a substitute or term appointment pending receipt of certification. The fingerprint review has been completed and a receipt of the clearance certificate by the Commissioner of Education is on file. Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. So we do have some upcoming meetings. May 9th is the JHS Spring Concert at 7 p.m. At the JPAC. May 21st is the budget vote and board election. Polls open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. At JHS. And May 22nd will be our May business meeting here at 6:30 p.m. at the JHS Small Cafeteria. Okay, so